If you're tired of fighting so much with your husband or boyfriend, then this video is for you. Stay tuned to learn how to stop fights before they even start with a technique that I call letting the beast starve. I'm Cameron. I'm a licensed therapist, wife, and mother, and this is my channel, Modern Marriage, where I share with you guys all the tips, resources, and insights that I've gathered from working with couples in therapy so that you can start building the relationship that you've always wanted. So have you ever stopped to think about exactly how much you forget that's happened to you, even just days after it happened? Specifically, we likely forget over 99% of the stimuli, thoughts, and feelings that we experience throughout the day just a week after they happen. When I first heard this, I almost didn't believe it. I didn't think it was possible to forget that much of what happens to us on a daily basis. But then I tested it out for myself, and you can do exactly the same thing. Take a few seconds right now to try to remember the thoughts and feelings you had 7 days ago. It's actually a lot harder than it seems. Personally, I can barely remember everything I did that day, let alone what I was thinking or the emotions I was experiencing. As humans, it turns out we have quite a limited capacity for attention. We can't focus on everything all at once. However, we do have virtually limitless storage in our long-term memories, but it takes a good deal of effort to ensure an experience or thought makes it to our long-term memory. We first have to focus on the thought or emotion, for example, long enough for it to transfer to our short-term memory. Then we need to allow it to drive a memorable behavior or decision for it to then get stored in our long-term memory. So the real bottleneck for storing things in our long-term memory turns out to be what we choose to focus on in the beginning. This is why I think about all our thoughts and feelings like little mental beasts. The more you feed them with attention, the bigger they grow and the more likely you are to remember them. So what does this have to do with fighting less with your partner? I'll explain in just a second, but before I continue, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and share this video with someone who you think might find it helpful. So we all have unpleasant thoughts and feelings throughout the day. That's just part of what it means to be human, and especially what it means to be in a relationship. And if you're in a committed relationship, chances are some of those thoughts and feelings will be about your partner or the relationship itself. However, if there's over a 90% chance at least that you're going to forget that negative feeling a week from now, how important is it to mention to your partner? This tends to be especially relevant in the heat of the moment when you're actively struggling with a negative thought or emotion, since that's A, when it feels like the biggest deal, and B, you're still dealing with all the other things that could be making the situation worse, like being tired or stressed or hungry. Meaning that when you're actively having the negative thought or feeling about your partner is probably the worst time to mention anything, since it's that moment where you're unlikely to come across in a constructive, calm, and loving way. For example, if your husband comes home from work and he's in a bad mood and that really annoys you because you've been looking forward to spending time together, your initial thoughts and feelings in response to his behavior are probably not going to be very positive. But which is more likely to reduce unnecessary conflict and turmoil in your relationship? Confronting the behavior in that moment, thus feeding your mental beasts with a fight, or letting it go and focusing on other things? Again, the things that we attend to, the things we focus on, are the things that end up getting stored in our long-term memories more often. Of course, you can't ignore every mental beast, since our thoughts and feelings can often be useful feedback on what's working and what's not in our current situation. So how do you decide when to bring something up that's bothering you? After all, long-term relationships, and especially marriage, inevitably come with a baseline level of conflict that you and your partner will have to work through together. A good rule of thumb that I like to follow is to wait at least a few days to see how I'm feeling about the issue once I've given my mind time to forget. In other words, I starve the mental beast of attention for a while to see if it dies on its own or not. This has been a great way for me to figure out whether something actually matters enough to bring it up or not, or if it only seemed important in the moment. Letting your mental beast starve by letting negative thoughts and emotions about your partner pass by in the moment is certainly a battle at first. And it might even end up feeling for a little while like you're betraying yourself by keeping quiet. But after a time of trying out the strategy, a cool thing happened. I realized that I had much more control over the amount and nature of the conflicts that I started in my marriage. My husband and I stopped having so many little dumb spats, and if I did raise something, it was after I'd already gotten through that initial state of heightened emotion. So I was able to approach the issue in a much more positive and effective way. Okay, guys, what do you think? Does this align with your experiences of addressing conflict in romantic relationships? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Cameron, and this is Modern Marriage.